The message arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning at Earth Central Command. Commander Jack Miller stared at the holographic display, reading the formal invitation from the Galactic Council for the third time. His weathered face, marked by years of space travel and countless battles, remained expressionless, but his eyes narrowed slightly. "They want us to bring our fleet to their military showcase," he said finally, looking up at the gathered officers in the command room. "All species will display their latest warships." Lisa Reed, Earth's chief diplomatic officer, stepped forward. Her practical uniform contrasted with the elaborate diplomatic robes she usually wore when meeting alien representatives. "It's not just an invitation, Commander," Lisa said, her voice calm but concerned. "It's a test. The Council wants to see where we stand compared to other species." Jack nodded slowly. Earth had joined the galactic community only 30 years. Ago, a mere blink of an eye in cosmic terms. Most alien civilizations had been traveling between stars for thousands of years before humans left their solar system. "What ships should we bring?" asked Tom Wilson, the head engineer who had worked on human vessels for over 20 years. His hands, calloused from manual repairs despite the availability of automated systems, fidgeted with a small mechanical part he always carried. Lisa glanced at the reports on her tablet. "The Council expects us to bring our newest ships. They're curious about human technology." Jack stood and walked to the window overlooking the massive shipyard orbiting Earth. Dozens of vessels floated in neat rows, from small patrol ships to massive carriers. Some gleamed with newness while others showed the marks of years of service. "No," Jack said after a long pause, "we won't bring our newest ships." The room fell silent. Lisa stepped closer to him, concern written across her face. "Jack, if we don't showcase our best technology, they'll think we're even further behind than they already believe. The Council already sees us as primitive newcomers." Jack turned, a small smile playing at the corner of his lips. "Exactly, and we'll let them keep thinking that." 3 days later, Lisa sat across from Blue, the Council's diplomat assigned to Earth. Blue's skin had a faint azure tint that gave the species its nickname among humans. The alien's real name was a series of musical tones impossible for human vocal cords to produce. They met in a neutral space station orbiting Jupiter, a common meeting point for human-alien diplomatic discussions. The station's artificial gravity was set slightly lower than Earth standard as a compromise for various species. "I must admit," Blue said, sipping a liquid that smelled like mint and motor oil, "we were surprised by your selection of ships for the showcase." Lisa kept her face neutral, years of diplomatic training coming into play. "Oh? What surprises you about it?" Blue's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture Lisa had learned indicated amusement or condescension, often both. "The heritage. Fleet? Ships that have been in service for over 40 Earth years?" Blue made a musical sound that the translator didn't bother converting, clearly laughter. "Most species will be bringing vessels constructed within the last 5 standard cycles. Technology advances quickly." Lisa smiled politely. "We're proud of our heritage fleet. Those ships have history. History won't help much against modern defenses," Blue replied. "But we appreciate Earth's participation nonetheless. It's important for younger species to observe and learn from the more established civilizations." After Blue left, Lisa sent an encrypted message to Jack. "They're underestimating us, exactly as you predicted." In the orbital shipyard above Mars, Jack walked through the cavernous bay of the Resilient, his chosen flagship for the mission. The vessel had first launched when Jack was just a boy, and had been upgraded countless times since then. To an outsider, it looked outdated, its hull marked with repair patches and lacking the sleek lines of newer ships. Kate Davis, the weapons specialist assigned to the mission, fell into step beside him. Her short, practical haircut and focused expression matched her no-nonsense attitude. "The Resilience weapons systems are ready," she reported. "We've reinstalled the older missile tubes as requested, and the energy cannons have been modified to look less efficient than they actually are." Jack nodded approvingly. "And the shields?" configured to appear as standard protection fields. The adaptive systems are hidden beneath 3 layers of security protocols. They won't detect them unless they're specifically looking. And they won't be looking because they don't think we have that technology. They continued their inspection, passing crew members preparing for the upcoming journey. Unlike the uniform, perfection seen on newer vessels, the Heritage Fleet crews were a mix of veterans and specialists, each chosen for experience rather than appearance. In the engine room, they found Tom hunched over an open panel, his hands deep in the ship's core systems. "How are the modifications coming along?" Jack asked. Tom straightened up, wiping grease from his hands. "Almost done, Commander. From the outside, these will register as standard fusion drives from our early space era. Only someone physically examining them would discover they're actually our latest hybrid engines." "Good," Jack said. "Remember, everything about these ships needs to look functional but outdated." As they finished their inspection tour and returned to the bridge, Alan Parker, the communications officer, approached with a concerned expression. "Sir, we've received the final roster of participating species. There will be 23 different civilizations showcasing their military vessels." He handed Jack a tablet with the list. "Some of these species have been spacefaring for over 10,000 years. Jack scanned the list, recognizing most names from briefings and historical records. The Galactic Council comprised the 7 oldest spacefaring races, with others like humans having varying levels of representation based on their technological advancement and territorial holdings. "Look at these specs they've provided," Alan continued, pointing at the attached files. "The Varel ships use quantum phase technology. The Argosy fleet has temporal shielding. We can't compete with this." Jack handed the tablet back with a calm expression. "We're not trying to compete with their technology, Alan. We're playing a different game entirely." Later that evening, as the Earth grew smaller in the viewports, Jack stood alone on the observation deck. The Heritage Fleet, 12 ships of varying sizes, all bearing the marks of long service, formed up around the Resilient. Lisa joined him, watching the blue planet fade into the distance. "The council representative called our ships charming antiques," she said. Jack chuckled. "Perfect, let them think that." Lisa turned to face him. "You really believe this will work? That our old ships will impress the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy?" Jack's eyes reflected the starlight as he looked out into the vastness of space. "These ships have something their shiny new vessels don't," he said quietly. "They've survived. They've adapted. They've evolved." He placed a hand on the cool metal of the viewport frame. "Just like humanity." The fleet accelerated, leaving Earth's solar system behind as they set course for the galactic core, where the most powerful civilizations in known space waited to be shown just how dangerous underestimating humans could be. Space stretched endlessly before the Heritage Fleet as they traveled toward the galactic core. The stars blazed like diamonds against the black void, growing denser as they approached the heart of the galaxy. Commander Jack Miller stood on the bridge of the Resilient, watching the main view screen with calm focus. 3 weeks of travel completed, announced Alan from his communication station. "We're making good time, Commander." Jack nodded. "Any word from the Council?" "They've sent updated coordinates for the showcase arena," Alan replied, tapping on his screen. "They seem surprised we're keeping pace with the expected timeline." Lisa, who had been studying reports at a nearby console, smiled slightly. "They probably expected our outdated engines to delay us." The bridge crew shared knowing looks. The Heritage Fleet might appear old on the outside, but beneath the worn hulls and visible repair patches lay technology that was far from obsolete. Tom's voice came through the ship's comm system. "Commander, you might want to come down to engineering. We're having some issues with the primary cooling system." 20 minutes later, Jack stood in the engine room, which hummed with the deep vibration of the massive drives pushing the Resilient through space. Unlike the sterile automated engine rooms of newer vessels, this one was crowded with equipment, tools, and busy crew members. The air smelled of metal and ozone. Tom pointed to a large panel displaying the ship's cooling system. "Look here. The external sensors are showing what appears to be an inefficient cooling cycle. If any alien vessels scan us, they'll see exactly what we want them to see. an outdated cooling system struggling to keep up. Jack studied the readouts. But the actual system is running at peak efficiency? Better than peak, Tom grinned, wiping his hands on a rag. I've made some modifications. We're actually running 23% cooler than our newest ships back home, but no one would know without a physical inspection. Good work, Jack said, clapping Tom on the shoulder. On his way back to the bridge, Jack passed the training deck where Kate was drilling a team of weapons specialists. Through the observation window, he watched as she directed a simulation of an old-style missile launch sequence. Target acquired. Launching missiles 1 through 4. Called out one of the younger officers, his fingers dancing across a control panel that looked intentionally bulky and outdated. Kate nodded in approval, but then barked. Too fast. Remember, we're supposed to have slower targeting systems. Add a 3-second delay between target lock and firing sequence. The young officer adjusted his approach, deliberately slowing down what would normally be an instantaneous process. Kate noticed, Jack watching, and stepped away from the training to join him in the corridor. How's it going? Jack asked. They're getting the hang of it, Kate replied. It's challenging for the newer recruits. They've trained on automated systems their whole careers, and now they have to pretend they're using technology from 40 years ago. But underneath the act, Kate smiled, a predatory gleam in her eyes. Underneath, we have targeting systems that could thread a needle from 1,000,000 miles away. The missiles look like our old M17s, but they've got the newest guidance packages, hidden inside the old casings. Jack nodded with satisfaction. Keep up the good work. We need everyone perfect in their roles before we reach the showcase. Later that night, in the ship's mess hall, Jack sat with Lisa and Alan, sharing a quiet meal away from the rest of the crew. The room was less crowded than usual, with most personnel either on duty or resting for their next shift. I've been reviewing the data on the species we'll encounter, Lisa said, pushing a tablet across the table. Some interesting patterns. Jack scrolled through the information. What am I looking for? Notice how each species showcases their technology. The Vrel always emphasize their quantum phasing. The Argosy their temporal shields. Each race has 1 or 2 standout technologies they're proud of. And they all know about each other's specialties, Alan added. It's like an unspoken agreement. Each civilization has their niche. Jack set the tablet down. And where do they think humans fit? Lisa leaned forward. That's just it. They don't know yet. We're the newcomers, the unknown factor. Some of the council members think we might specialize in biological technologies, given our rapid physical adaptation to different environments. Others suspect we might have unique approaches to AI or computer systems. None of them have guessed our real strength, Jack said quietly. Which is? Alan asked. Integration, Jack replied. Humans don't excel at creating brand new technologies better than anyone else. What we do better than any species in the galaxy is take existing ideas and combine them in ways no one else has considered. Before they could continue their discussion, the ship's alert system activated with a soft chime. Bridge. To Commander Miller, came the duty officer's voice over the comm. Jack tapped his communication badge. Miller here. Sir, we've detected an approaching vessel on an intercept course. It's a Cortax patrol ship. Jack exchanged glances with Lisa and Alan before all three hurried to the bridge. When they arrived, the main screen showed a sleek silver vessel approaching rapidly. The Cortax were one of the younger council races known for their territorial nature and impressive scanner technology. They're hailing us, Commander, said the communications officer. On screen, Jack ordered, straightening his uniform. The screen flickered and the image of a Cortax officer appeared. The alien had smooth gray skin with subtle ridges along its neck and a sharp, beak-like mouth. Its 4 eyes blinked independently as it studied the human bridge crew. Earth vessel, the Cortax said, its translator giving its voice a metallic quality. This is Security Captain Moore of the Galactic Council Border Patrol. State your purpose in this sector. Jack stepped forward. I am Commander Jack Miller of the Earth Heritage Fleet. We are en route to the Galactic Showcase by official invitation from the Council. The Cortax officer's eyes narrowed. The Heritage Fleet? Ah, yes, the human historical vessels. There was unmistakable dismissal in its tone. Our scans detect outdated propulsion and defensive systems. Do you require assistance to reach your destination? No, thank you, Captain, Jack replied with a polite smile. Our old ships are serving us just fine. As you wish, Moore said. However, protocol requires we inspect all vessels heading to the showcase. Prepare for a scanning beam. Lisa stepped closer to Jack, speaking quietly. Standard procedure, but their scans are more detailed than most. Should we be concerned? Not at all, Jack murmured back. Tom assured me our modifications would hold up to external scanning. A pale blue light washed over the Resilient as the Cortax ship circled them slowly. Scanning complete, announced Moore after several tense minutes. Your vessels appear functional if primitive. You may proceed to the showcase. The alien's mouth parts twitched in what might have been amusement. Though I must say, Commander, I'm curious what you hope to achieve by bringing such outdated technology to the demonstration. Jack maintained his pleasant expression. Sometimes old tools have unexpected uses, Captain Moore. After the Cortax ship departed, the bridge crew relaxed visibly. They bought it, Alan said, sounding relieved. Jack turned to the navigation station. Resume course to the showcase, maximum speed. He allowed himself a small smile. We wouldn't want to be late for our debut. As the Heritage Fleet continued its journey toward the galactic core, the stars grew ever more numerous in the view screen. Somewhere ahead, the most powerful civilizations in known space were preparing to showcase their military might, completely unaware that the seemingly obsolete human fleet would soon change their understanding of warfare forever. The galactic showcase arena came into view as the Heritage Fleet emerged from their final jump point. Jack stood motionless on the bridge, taking in the massive structure that hung in space before them. The arena was a marvel of engineering, a colossal ring-shaped construct orbiting a neutron star, its surface gleaming with lights that formed shifting patterns across its metallic skin. It's enormous, Alan whispered, awe evident in his voice. Lisa nodded. The showcase arena is said to be one of the oldest structures in the galaxy. The Council races built it over 5,000 years ago as a neutral ground for military demonstrations. The Resilience Communications panel chimed. Commander, said the officer on duty, we're receiving docking instructions and our showcase schedule. Jack moved to review the information. When are we scheduled to present? Last, sir, the officer replied. After all, 22 other species have completed their demonstrations. Lisa frowned. That's deliberate. They've placed us in the position of least importance. Or they're saving the best for last, Jack said with a slight smile. Inform the fleet to begin docking procedures, and remind all crew members, maintain the act at all times. The Heritage Fleet approached their designated docking areas, their thrusters firing with visible puffs of exhaust, an intentional inefficiency that made their maneuvering appear clumsy compared to the sleek, silent movements of the alien vessels already docked. As they secured the ships, Jack, Lisa, and Kate prepared to attend the opening ceremony. They wore their formal Earth uniforms, practical blue and gray outfits that lacked the ornate decorations or technological enhancements visible on the clothing of other species. Remember, Jack said as they stood at the airlock, we're here to observe and learn. Ask questions. Look impressed. Don't reveal anything about our true capabilities. The massive docking bay was filled with representatives from across the galaxy. Some species Jack recognized from briefings. The tall, willowy Argosy with their shimmer suits that bent light around them. The six-limbed Vrel whose bodies pulsed with subtle quantum shifts. The insectoid Trill whose compound eyes reflected rainbows of light. Others were new to him, creatures of such alien form that he could barely determine which parts were body and which were clothing or technology. Admiral Vex of the Cortax, the current head of the Galactic Council's military division, stood on a raised platform at the center of the bay. Unlike Captain Moore from the patrol ship, Vex had golden markings along their neck ridges, signifying high rank. Representatives of the galaxy's military forces, Vex's amplified voice echoed through the chamber. Welcome to the 73rd Galactic Showcase. Here we celebrate the pinnacle of each civilization's defensive capabilities and share in the collective advancement of our galactic community. Vex's four eyes scanned the crowd, pausing briefly on the human delegation. We have a special addition this cycle, representatives from Earth, one of our newest members. They have brought what they call their heritage fleet for demonstration. A ripple of what sounded like amusement passed through the alien crowd. Now let us proceed to the observation deck for the first demonstrations. The Argosy Temporal Fleet will begin, followed by the Vrel Quantum Armada. As the crowd moved toward the massive observation deck, Jack and his team found themselves approached by a group of Trill representatives, their chitinous bodies clicking as they moved. "Humans," the lead Trill said through its translator, mandibles, moving rapidly. "We have studied your ships during docking. Fascinating use of combustion technology. Very traditional." Kate maintained a pleasant expression. "Our heritage fleet has served Earth well for many years." "Indeed," the Trill responded, its compound eyes reflecting the human's images. "But surely you don't expect such primitive vessels to impress at this gathering? Some species here have ships that can bend space-time itself." Before Kate could respond, Lisa stepped in smoothly. "We're primarily here to learn. Earth recognizes it has much to gain from observing more advanced technologies." The Trill seemed satisfied with this appropriately humble response and moved away. Kate exhaled slowly. "I wanted to tell them our primitive ships could run circles around their flashy space benders," she muttered. "You'll get your chance," Jack replied quietly. "Patience." The observation deck was a vast chamber with transparent walls offering a panoramic view of space. The neutron star provided a dramatic backdrop, its intense blue-white light controlled by the arena's protective filters. In the center of the deck, a holographic display showed the demonstration area, a section of space equipped with various obstacles, targets, and sensor arrays to measure performance. Admiral Vex took position at the control center. "The demonstrations will proceed in order of Council seniority. Each species will have 30 minutes to showcase their vessel's capabilities." For the next several hours, Jack and his team watched as the galaxy's most advanced warships performed incredible feats. The Argosy vessels seemed to predict attacks before they happened, their temporal shields creating bubbles where time itself slowed to a crawl. The Vrel ships phased in and out of reality, becoming ghostly images that weapons passed through harmlessly before solidifying to return fire. The Cortex demonstrated sensor arrays so precise they could detect a single atom out of place, while the Trill showcased biological ships that could heal damage in seconds. Each demonstration was more impressive than the last, drawing gasps and applause from the gathered representatives. Throughout it all, Jack watched with intense focus, occasionally making notes on a simple paper notebook. A deliberately archaic choice that drew curious glances from nearby aliens used to advance data devices. Lisa leaned close during the Praxian demonstration of energy weapons that could disrupt molecular bonds. "You've been quiet. What are you thinking?" Jack kept his voice low. "I'm thinking that every single one of these impressive technologies has a fundamental weakness. The Argosy temporal shields create tremendous energy signatures before activation, a 3-second warning before they engage. The Vrel quantum ships can't fire weapons while phased. You're looking for weaknesses in supposed allies?" Lisa asked, sounding concerned. Jack shook his head slightly. "I'm observing patterns. Every species here has specialized in one or two incredible technologies, but they've neglected basics in the process. They're so focused on their specialties that they've created blind spots." As the demonstrations continued, Admiral Vex periodically announced scores and measurements, with each species trying to outdo the others in specific categories. The competition was friendly but intense, with clear rivalry between certain civilizations. Finally, after nearly all species had presented, Vex approached the human delegation. The Admiral's expression held barely concealed condescension. "Earth representatives, your demonstration is scheduled next. However, given the nature of your vessels, perhaps you would prefer to simply observe the remaining presentations. There would be no shame in withdrawing from the demonstration portion. Jack stood straight, meeting the Admiral's four-eyed gaze directly. We appreciate your concern, Admiral Vex, but Earth will proceed with our demonstration as scheduled. Vex's neck ridges flattened, a sign of surprise among the cortex. As you wish, Commander Miller. Your fleet should move into position within the next 20 minutes. As Vex walked away, Kate turned to Jack. They're expecting us to embarrass ourselves. Perfect, Jack replied with a calm smile. That's exactly what we want them to expect. He tapped his communication badge. Miller, to all Heritage Fleet captains. Prepare for demonstration sequence. Initial protocol. Show them exactly what they expect to see. At first. The human crew returned to their ships, passing groups of alien representatives who watched them with expressions ranging from pity to amusement. No one noticed the subtle look of anticipation that passed between the humans as they prepared to turn the galaxy's expectations upside down. The Heritage Fleet moved into position in the demonstration zone, thrusters puffing visibly as they arranged themselves in a simple formation. From the observation deck, the gathered alien representatives watched with expressions ranging from mild curiosity to barely concealed derision. Look at those exhaust patterns, one Trill representative chittered to another. They're still using chemical propellants for maneuvering. Admiral Vex stood at the control center, four eyes blinking in sequence as they addressed the crowd. We now present the Earth Heritage Fleet for their demonstration. As our newest galactic members, humans have brought vessels they consider historically significant. The Admiral's voice carried a note of indulgence as one might use when watching a child's crude attempt at art. On the bridge of the Resilient, Jack settled into the command chair and surveyed his crew. Each officer sat at their station, focused and ready. Communications, Jack said calmly. Open a channel to all Heritage Fleet vessels. Alan nodded. Channel open, Commander. This is Miller. Execute first demonstration sequence. Standard maneuvers only. Remember, look good, but not too good. The Heritage Fleet began their demonstration with basic formation flying. Nothing that would impress the gathered aliens, but executed with military precision. Their movements were deliberate, almost plodding compared to the fluid grace of the other species' vessels. In the observation deck, Lisa stood with the other Earth diplomats, listening to the murmured comments around them. Such rigid patterns, an Argosi diplomat commented. No temporal flexibility at all. Their reaction time is measurable in full seconds, a Cortex officer added. Our vessels respond in microseconds. Lisa maintained a neutral expression, though she caught the eye of a human diplomat nearby who gave her the smallest of winks. After 10 minutes of increasingly complex but still fundamentally basic maneuvers, Admiral Vex's voice came over the communication system. Earth Heritage Fleet, your basic capabilities have been noted. However, we typically include more challenging demonstrations. Perhaps you would care to attempt the asteroid navigation course. There was a pause before Jack's voice replied, sounding appropriately hesitant. We would be honored to attempt the course, Admiral. A ripple of surprise moved through the alien observers. The asteroid course had been particularly challenging for several species, requiring split-second timing and precise maneuvering through a dense field of fast-moving space debris. They can't be serious. A Vrel observer pulsed, its quantum-shifting body flickering with what might have been amusement. Their ships will be torn apart. Inside the Resilient, Jack turned to his navigation officer. Standard approach to the asteroid field. Once we're inside, he paused, allowing a small smile. Switch to real capabilities. The Heritage Fleet approached the asteroid field slowly, their movements appearing cautious and uncertain. The first asteroids passed by, with the human ships making what seemed like last-minute corrections to avoid collisions. They're barely managing, Admiral Vex commented to the crowd. Their reaction time is... The Admiral stopped mid-sentence as something changed. The human ships suddenly shifted from their plodding movements to a fluid dance through the asteroid field. Where moments before they had seemed to barely avoid collisions, now they wove through the densest clusters with impossible precision. What just happened? The Trill representative's mandibles clicked rapidly in confusion. On the bridge of the Resilient, Jack watched as his crew operated with practiced efficiency, their earlier pretense of struggling now abandoned. "Status report," Jack called out. "Navigator here. We're running on true controls now, sir. Analog backup systems fully engaged. Weapons station. All countermeasures ready if needed. Engineering reports all ships are performing at optimal levels, Commander." The Heritage fleet moved through the asteroid field not just with competence, but with an elegance that none of the previous demonstrators had shown. Where the alien vessels had relied on advanced technology to predict asteroid paths or phase through them, the human ships simply danced. In the observation center, the alien representatives had fallen silent, their earlier derision replaced by confusion and growing concern. "How are they doing this?" Admiral Vex demanded, turning to Lisa. "These vessels showed energy signatures consistent with outdated technology." Lisa smiled politely. "The Heritage fleet has been in service for many years, Admiral. During that time, we've made adjustments." Before Vex could respond, another alarm sounded. The Admiral turned back to the control panel. "Automatic weapons systems have activated in the asteroid field. This is the combat portion of the demonstration. Automated defense drones appeared in the asteroid field, firing energy weapons at the human vessels. The shots were designed to be registered by sensors, but cause no actual damage. Their shields will register the hits, but they won't be able to," Vex began, then stopped as they watched the screens. The Heritage fleet didn't deploy energy shields like the other species had. Instead, the vessels performed rapid, unpredictable maneuvers, making themselves nearly impossible targets. When shots did come close, small point defense systems activated, intercepting the energy beams with simple reflective countermeasures. "Those are physical reflectors," a Vrel scientist observed with shock. "Not energy-based shields at all. They're using basic physics to deflect energy weapons." On the Resilient, Kate monitored the weapons systems with satisfaction. "Countermeasures functioning perfectly, Commander. The drones can't get a solid lock on us." Jack nodded. "Now let's show them something really interesting. Initiate defense pattern Miller 3. The Heritage fleet suddenly shifted formation. While continuing to navigate the asteroid field, the smaller vessels took positions around the larger ships, creating a protective screen. As drone attacks intensified, the fleet began to move as a single unit, the smaller ships intercepting attacks while the larger vessels provided covering, fire with what appeared to be primitive projectile weapons. In the observation center, the alien representatives watched in growing disbelief. "They're using physical ammunition," one commented incredulously. "Actual metal projectiles." "Yes," another replied, "but look at the accuracy. They're hitting. Drones moving at sublight speeds with non-energy weapons, that should be impossible." Admiral Vex's neck ridges had flattened completely, a sign of extreme surprise in cortex physiology. This demonstration was designed to showcase advanced technology. The humans are using ancient methods. "Ancient," Lisa replied calmly, "but effective." As the Heritage fleet completed the asteroid course with a perfect score, Admiral Vex seemed to recover some composure. "An impressive display of piloting, Commander Miller. However, the final test involves direct energy weapon defense. Without advanced shielding, I'm afraid your vessels would be at a significant disadvantage." There was a pause before Jack's voice came through the communication system, sounding almost amused. "We're happy to participate in the energy weapon defense demonstration, Admiral." The humans in the observation center exchanged glances. This was the moment they had been preparing for. In the demonstration area, the Heritage fleet formed a new configuration as the energy weapon platforms powered up. These platforms were designed to fire increasingly powerful energy beams, testing the limits of a ship's defensive capabilities. The first shots fired relatively low-powered beams that most advanced vessels could easily deflect. To the observer's surprise, the human ships didn't attempt to deflect them at all. Instead, the energy beams hit the hulls directly and seemed to disappear. "What's happening?" Vex demanded, checking the sensors. "The energy readings. They're gone. The beams are being absorbed somehow. Tom's voice came through Jack's private communication channel. Hull absorption systems working perfectly, Commander. We're capturing 97% of the energy and redirecting it to our reserves. Excellent, Jack replied. Prepare for full demonstration in 3, 2, 1. As the energy weapon platforms fired their maximum power shots, the Heritage Fleet did something that left every alien observer speechless. The human vessel's hulls began to glow with the absorbed energy, and then, in perfect synchronization, redirected it outward in controlled bursts that precisely neutralized the incoming attacks. For the first time since the demonstrations began, the observation deck was completely silent. Admiral Vex stared at the sensor readings, all 4 eyes wide with disbelief. Impossible, the Admiral finally said. Those are 40-year-old vessels. By your own admission, they cannot possibly have this technology. Lisa stepped forward. Admiral, you misunderstand. The Heritage Fleet vessels are indeed 40 years old. But humans never stop improving what we build. These ships have been continuously upgraded, modified, and enhanced throughout their service. On the Resilience Bridge, Jack allowed himself a moment of satisfaction as he watched his crew perform exactly as trained. This is just the beginning, he said quietly. Let's show them what humanity really brings to the galaxy. The final sequence of the human demonstration left the observation deck in stunned silence. The Heritage Fleet had just completed a series of maneuvers that should have been impossible for vessels of their apparent technological level. Not only had they navigated the asteroid field with perfect precision, but they had also absorbed and redirected energy weapons that could have crippled ships twice as advanced. Admiral Vex stood rigid, neck ridges completely flat against their skin. The Admiral's 4 eyes blinked out of sequence, a sign of extreme agitation among the Cortax. This demonstration is over, Vex announced abruptly. Earth representatives, please dock your vessels and join us in the council chamber immediately. As the Heritage Fleet returned to their docking positions, the alien representatives broke into urgent, hushed conversations. The humans in the observation deck maintained their composure, though a few allowed themselves small smiles of satisfaction. Lisa approached Admiral Vex. Is there a problem, Admiral? Vex's voice was tight with controlled emotion. Not a problem. Earth diplomat. Rather a significant misunderstanding that requires clarification. 1 hour later, Jack, Lisa, Kate, Tom, and Alan stood in the Grand Council chamber. Unlike the ornate meeting halls on Earth, this room was a perfect sphere with a platform in the center where the human team now stood. Around them, representatives from the 22 other species sat in tiered seats, looking down at the humans with expressions ranging from curiosity to open hostility. The 7 members of the Galactic Council occupied the highest tier. Admiral Vex sat among them, leaning forward to address the humans. Commander Miller, Vex began, your demonstration today was unexpected. You presented what you called a heritage fleet, vessels you claimed were outdated by human standards. Yet these ships displayed capabilities that rival or exceed many of our most advanced technologies. Vex's voice hardened. This council demands an explanation. Were you deliberately concealing your true technological capabilities from the galactic community? Jack stood tall, his posture relaxed but confident. Admiral, honored council members, and representatives of the galaxy, I appreciate your concerns, but I must correct a misunderstanding. We never claimed our ships were technologically primitive, merely that they were older vessels with significant service history. Semantics, hissed a Trill representative. Your energy signatures, your visible propulsion systems, all suggested outdated technology. Jack nodded. Appearances can be deceiving. This is the first lesson of human military strategy. Never reveal your full capabilities until necessary. A murmur ran through the chamber. One of the council members, Avril, whose body constantly shifted between solid and translucent states, spoke next. If these are truly your older vessels, then we must ask, what do your newest ships look like? Jack exchanged a glance with Lisa before responding. That information remains classified, as I'm sure many of your own military advances do as, well, The chamber erupted in voices until Admiral Vex raised all four arms for silence. "What I find most perplexing," Vex said, "is how your vessels achieved what they did. Our scans detected no quantum phase technology, no temporal manipulation, no neural integration networks. How did primitive hull materials absorb energy weapons designed to penetrate advanced shields?" Tom stepped forward, after a nod from Jack. "If I may address the technical questions, Admiral." At Vex's gesture, Tom continued. "The key isn't in creating entirely new technologies, but in combining existing principles in ways others haven't considered. Our hulls use a layered composite material that captures energy rather than resisting it. The principle is actually quite old, dating back to our early experiments with solar collection. As for our navigation abilities," Kate added, "we use a combination of automated systems and manual piloting. When energy disruption weapons are detected, we can instantly switch to analog backup systems. Technology so old it's immune to modern interference." The Argosy representative, a tall being whose silver skin seemed to shimmer with internal light, leaned forward. "But such basic approaches should not work against our advanced systems." Lisa smiled diplomatically. "Yet they did. Perhaps because while you were all advancing in specialized directions, humans took a different approach. We never stopped improving the basics while we developed new technology." The council chamber fell quiet as the aliens considered this perspective. Finally, a previously silent council member spoke, an ancient being of the Marok species, whose crystalline body contained swirling gases that changed color as they thought. "In my 3,000 years, the Marok said, their translator giving their voice a musical quality, "I have observed many species join our galactic community. Each brings unique perspectives, but humans, the gases in their bodies swirled from deep blue to vibrant purple. Humans bring something I have not seen before, a willingness to look backward while moving forward." Admiral Vex seemed to consider this, their neck ridges slowly rising back to normal position. "Commander Miller, while I cannot say I approve of your deception, I must acknowledge the effectiveness of your demonstration." The Admiral paused. "It seems we have underestimated humanity." Jack nodded in acknowledgement. "A common mistake, Admiral, but one that rarely happens twice." The formal meeting concluded with the Council agreeing to reassess Earth's standing in the galactic community. As the human team left the chamber, they found themselves approached by representatives from various species, many now eager to discuss possible technological exchanges. Later, on the observation deck overlooking the docked Heritage Fleet, Jack stood with Lisa watching the myriad alien vessels preparing to depart. "Mission accomplished," Lisa said quietly. "In one day we've changed how the entire galaxy sees humanity." Jack nodded. "Not bad for a fleet of museum pieces." "Speaking of which," Lisa turned to face him, "when do you think Earth will reveal our actual current technology?" Jack smiled, watching a group of alien diplomats studying the Resilient with new respect in their postures. "Not anytime soon. Today we showed them what we could do with 40-year-old ships. Let them wonder what we could do with our current fleet." "And what about the prototype vessels?" Lisa asked, her voice dropping to a near whisper. "The ones even most of Earth doesn't know about?" Jack's expression remained neutral, but his eyes gleamed. "Those will remain our secret a while longer. In poker terms, we showed them a decent hand today, but we're still holding our aces." Tom approached them, checking a small device in his hand. "The fleet is ready for departure, Commander. All systems nominal and the crews are eager to head home." Jack took one last look at the massive showcase arena. "It's been an educational visit for everyone, I think." As they walked back toward the docking bay, an Argosy diplomat stepped into their path. The willowy alien skin shimmered with what humans had learned was an expression of respect. "Commander Miller," the Argosy said, "my government has authorized me to open discussions about possible military coordination with Earth. We find your perspective on technology integration most valuable." Jack smiled. "We'd be honored to discuss cooperation. After all, we're all members of the same galactic community." After the Argosy departed, Kate joined them, barely containing her amusement. From dismissed newcomers to sought-after allies in one day. Not bad. The real work begins now, Lisa reminded them. Maintaining the balance between revealing enough to be respected while keeping enough secret to be safe. Jack nodded as they reached the Resilience airlock. A challenge humanity has faced throughout our history. We reveal what we must, conceal what we can, and always, always keep improving. As the Heritage Fleet departed from the showcase arena, messages flooded in from across the galaxy. Requests for meetings, offers of alliance, and invitations to diplomatic summits. Earth had arrived on the galactic stage not with the flashiest technology or the newest ships, but with something far more valuable, innovation that none had expected, and wisdom that few possessed. And as the supposedly obsolete vessels disappeared into the darkness of space, heading home to a planet that continued to build, improve, and evolve, one thing became clear to the watching galaxy. Underestimating humans would always be a dangerous mistake.